welcome to another episode of the Serpent Temple podcast. Today we are going to be looking at two fresh new albums. The first is going to be by Fires in the Distance, and the name of the album is Air Not Meant for Us. The second is going to be Terrasite by Cattle Decapitation. But Floyd, what have you been up to? Fuck's sake. I already messed it up. I was so smooth. I was so smooth.
I thought you were going to hit me with an up dog. This place smells of up dog.
We just had a really nice big hearty meal of up dog.
It was big, yeah. Stomach's probably at 70% capacity, which it hasn't been for the last 10 years, so that's good. What have I been up to? So you guys played Desert Fest.
We sure did.
An amazing set, packed out the dev. There was a queue all the way around to Sainsbury's. It was Alistair was watching through the window.
It wasn't just him. There was a point where I was singing and I opened my eyes and there was people with their hands pressed up against the windows. So just Alistair, it's 3 of the dev windows were just covered in people. It was amazing.
That's amazing.
I was so close to falling into the drum kit halfway through the set. I came within a hair's breadth of just.
His hair kept going on my hands, and so I had to I usually I'd put my hands out, but one side of me was slightly closer to my body.
Yeah. That was really funny.
As Shem was pulling an anti-Valiant, getting his hair stuck in places.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was good set. I tell you what though, the acoustics in the dev actually does sound good. It's
surprisingly we were okay.
Yeah. Not the most ergonomic venue. It's just it doesn't take much to pack it out, but it was.
It doesn't.
I just bigged you guys up. It doesn't take much to pack it out. Don't get ahead of yourselves.
It's not much of an achievement.
It's a very small but achievementy achievement. Yeah.
But anyone that mattered was there.
If you were there, you're cool.
Yeah, it was great. So congratulations on that. It was a great set.
Cheers, mate.
You guys, I don't think we've done an episode since you guys went to Uprising, have we?
We've had a busy few weeks. Yeah, we went to Uprising in Leicester. It was absolutely sick. We played in O2 Academy. We played the O2 2, not the big O2, but it was still fucking massive. It was 400 cap. Yeah. And the room was pretty full. It was the most people we've ever played to, and it was mad. We had a fucking Spinal Tap style journey to the stage. We had no idea where we were. Yeah, I was looking for I have an anxiety dream once a week where I'm about to play a show and I'm in a big venue and I'm looking for the toilet and I can't find it, and it actually came true.
Oh, no way.
Because we were in this venue and it's just stairs and corridors and random rooms with doors, and you just opening it and oh, this is a cupboard, oh, this is another corridor, and I really needed to pee before the set and I just couldn't find the toilet.
Should have done a Fergie from Black Eyed Peas.
What did she do?
That just straight up pissed herself on stage.
Wow.
But it's a famous picture of her with a very visible stain around that area.
Wow, that's another anxiety that now I feel is going to happen to me in real life.
That's why I always wear black.
Yeah, I like colours though. I don't want to wear black all the time.
That's why I always wear brown. But it's funny when you're talking about the anxiety dream. For some reason, the Scala came to mind. Just that was a great gig, the Anel Nathric gig we went to. But
that place is amazing.
Something strange about that venue. I like it, but it was the coldest venue I've ever been to.
It was designed by David Lynch.
Fucking designed by MC Escher.
It's gonna have what's that fucking, not American Psycho, the other one where he's in the hotel and it's cold and the twins are in the corridor.
Shining.
I always got those two mixed up. Don't know why.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah.
They're both popular
films.
horror franchises.
Is there a franchise, The Shining?
Technically it is, because
Oh.
Doctor Sleep was released not too long ago.
Oh, was that a follow-up?
That's the sequel to The Shining, yeah.
Doctor Sleep.
It was quite good.
Not the right kind of doctor, sorry.
What wasn't a Harold Shipman biography? So that was great. You guys caught a bit of Grave Lines, right? Fellow Serpent Temple alumni.
Yeah, fucking love Grave Lines. 10 out of 10 band.
And I had a hardcore metalcore gig on the same night, so I went to catch Kublai Khan. Well, I'll say the whole bill. It was Dying Wish, Paleface, Kublai Khan, TX, because I think there might be some...
Another Kublai Khan.
Either that, or maybe it's something to do with some form of copyright infringement or something with the name, perhaps. And then Counterparts, who are basically Misery Signals Light. And he said that himself, so I'm not going to say that. Yeah. But it was a great gig. Kublai Khan were a big draw for me to go there. Just really meaty, stompy, hardcore, just an overly anabolic frontman. just making dog noises. It was like a hardcore DMX. Remember when DMX used to make like the dog bark noises? He was just doing a lot of that, and it was just, I swear to God, I felt like somebody had injected like 50 cc's of fucking trenbolone right into my arse. It was amazing. It was a really good gig, but my feet were fucking.
Is that a real thing?
Yeah.
That's Tren.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
I probably fucked up. That's probably.
I've heard it pronounced like that.
That's crazy.
Yeah, there's like a video of a guy ordering it and like getting it in his taxi. I can't remember where. It's like he's just like, yeah, he just calls someone up and he's like, where the fuck is that? Sorry. Really interesting anecdote there.
It's like a mixture between trembling and bone.
Yeah.
It's like a very
very
weak sounding name for a thing that
it's
makes
kind
you
of-
strong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's some people when taking it, they refer to it by saying, "Oh, I'm just having a trenbolone sandwich."
That's how you announce you've been to the gym.
Yeah, just by meeting with Dr. Jim Waits and Dominic Bell. It's funny because every time I put that message, I still pop for it. I still think this is the funniest shit ever.
I think it's funny.
If I was like super rich in a hardcore band, I'd have like a show where if you came to the show, you'd have to like lean over a table and get a shot of that in your ass. And then just see what happens. Just see what the pit is like for the
You
like.
just drug everyone.
Just drug, but everyone's on like weighting drugs. They're
Well,
like really aggressive.
I could guarantee you, I've seen 90% of hardcore kids, and I can guarantee you they're fucking clean. There's not an ounce of steroids in any of their bodies.
Oh, okay, maybe it has to be like black metal then.
I think death metal is the strongest genre.
The strongest genre, but like naturally.
Yeah.
No, I think.
I
Well, I
think
mean,
maybe
I
it
don't know
is
how you
hardcore.
classify Manowar, but whichever genre Manowar technically, that power
Yeah.
trad.
It's its own genre, man. I love Manowar.
I agree with him, but that guitarist being a paedophile brings him down.
And he's very
shit,
weak
yeah.
looking as well.
Yeah.
He's very weak looking.
Yeah.
He's probably
Yeah.
even weaker now. He's been in prison.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
He's trembling.
He's tremboloning in prison.
Strongest genre, I'd probably give it to death metal.
Yeah.
I'd give it to hardcore, but is that metal?
Yeah. No.
It's a heavy music genre.
Heavy music genre.
Yeah,
Oh, juggalos.
They're not strong.
maybe.
They're strong because they're big. You seen that big guy?
And they're professional wrestlers.
Not all of them.
I'm not saying I support them, but I think I think
Was
they
it
would
Shaggy,
win.
Too Dope, and
Violent J.
Violent J. That's it. They're really nice guys. You know. Yeah. So basically, I'll give you a bit of context here to another niche that I'm interested in, which is the wrestling world. They were involved with most major wrestling promotions at some point. They had their own backyard kind of like organizations. They used to have a thing called JCW, Juggalo Championship Wrestling, if that wasn't obvious. And one of the things I love doing in my spare time is watching shoot interviews with wrestlers. So it's wrestlers kind of not so much exposing the scene, but what's called breaking kayfabe, which is like the wall of kind of like protection behind what goes on behind the scenes. And it's become really prevalent for these shoot interviews to happen in like the mid 2000s. And ICP did one with one of the best shoot companies called Kayfabe Commentaries. And they came across like the chillest, funniest, just most down to earth, humble guys.
I think I've seen that.
They were just like so super cool.
Yeah.
And they really changed my. I mean, I've only listened to one ICP song. No, Tell a Lie 2, because they
the
did
one about magnets.
it's the one about the fucking magnets. How do they work? Miracles.
Yeah.
And then they did a theme for the oddities in the WWF in the mid '90s.
They had a song called Behind the Pain, and it was like a sad hip-hop song about them being sad that women wanted to sleep with them, but only when they were wearing their face makeup.
No way.
And they were like, yeah, in the words, and he's like, behind the pain, that's a shell of a used up man.
That's a really good impersonation.
So funny,
that actually does sound like that.
So funny.
There's this video on Instagram of like an influencer and her boyfriend, and he's like sitting behind her, and she's like, "Me and my boyfriend have been doing this thing where we've been having sex every day for a month."
Oh, he looked, that man
guy
looks
is just
dead.
like-
Yeah.
He's like so much post-nut clarity. He's
Yeah.
in space, like it's incredible. He's just ascended to the next
Yeah,
world.
that man is zonked. Yeah, I saw that.
That is an empty shell of a man. That's the emptiest man I've ever seen.
No. Speaking of empty shells, we're not reviewing it just yet, but the Cattle Decapitation album has a locust emerging from an empty shell. How about
And-
that segue?
In the first song, he also talks about, in the lyrics, about now crumbling oothekas from which a new species of human arises, which is the shell of an insect.
There you go.
Shells.
Yeah.
Also a band.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And an oil company.
Fuck that company. Fuck Shell.
But should we move on to the first album we're doing today?
Let's do it. This is also related to Shell, the oil company. Air Not Meant for Us by Fires in the Distance.
So this band, never heard of them before discovering this album. Just saw somebody kind of recommending it on Twitter. And I'd be like, this name sounds kind of cool. I'll check this out. So they are from Newington, Connecticut, which is close to WWE's territory. Should just do a fucking wrestling podcast.
We're a secret wrestling podcast.
And it consists of, oh God, some of these names are tricky.
Do you want me to give you a hand?
Craig, I've got it. I've got this under control. Craig Breitsprecher, who handles bass and vocal duties. Not sure who does the main vocals between the guitarist and the bassist, because it's not specified. So either him or Christian Grimaldi, who handles guitars and vocals. So one of them is the lead vocalist. I'm guessing one's the backing vocalist. Mm-hmm. You've also got Igor Savonin on guitar and synths, and Jordan Rip on drums. So to give a bit of a preface about what to expect from this album, this is kind of like your late 90s, mid 2000s era of Melodeath, which is much more kind of like imbued with melody. Like it's not Melodeath in the traditional sense, like you're at the gates, or like early In Flames or early Dark Tranquility. It's much more similar to later Dark Tranquility. So like it's very synth heavy. Mm. It's kind of like a very doom laden as well, similar to like a band like Insomnium. But it's just really, really solid melodic death doom metal. Like, and I really, really enjoyed it. It's very vibey, very moody. All the songs are in excess of 5 minutes long. So it's kind of like, for those of a short attention span, it might not be something that will tickle your fancy. But like if you want something to just kind of sit back, listen to and chill, it really ticked all the boxes for me.
For me, it was like a fusion of Agalloch and Paradise Lost.
Yeah, I think you mentioned Paradise Lost off camera, and I think that's a very good comparison. Yeah. It's, they've just got that doom aspect to it, but like, you know, it's not boring. Like, I think the songs are built well. Like, they do require a patient listener, I think, because the band does like to take its time, kind of like building the layers of melody and synth. And there's, you know, pretty much every song has got like a piano interlude to start, and then it just slowly builds up. Bit similar to kind of like how Neurosis do things, but obviously a completely different genre. But like, there's always like a cool crescendo, then you get a bit of a lull, and then the song kind of like climaxes again. And just like great use of kind of like staccato riffing at certain points as well. Yeah. Like just kind of reminds me a bit of, do you remember the band Divine Heresy?
No.
I love Divine Heresy.
Yeah, so Divine Heresy were I don't know if side project's the last word, but a new project founded by Dino of Fear Factory. You had Tim Young, who was a one-time drummer of Vital Remains amongst, and Morbid Angel as well, I think, drum for. And then the singer was, what's his name? Tommy Vext, who was the singer of Bad Wolves, right, for a bit before he got kicked out for some reason or other, I can't remember. But yeah, but it's like, if you like that Fear Factory, really like intense, like chromatic stop-start kind of riffing, then it's amazing for that. There's some absolute killer riffs on that album.
It's like if Howard Jones sang in Fear Factory.
Yeah.
It's a bit like that.
You're on the money there, 100%. He had that kind of Howard Jones cream to him as well, didn't he? Yeah. But yeah, so there's moments on this album where there's a lot of cool stop-start bits, and I really love that when it's interspersed with like kind of like synth-heavy, really like emotive like soundscapes, and I like the synths on this album. I know you're not a fan of synths.
No, I like good synth, and this is good synth.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
There's a certain kind of synth I don't like, and it's really difficult for me to put my finger on it, because like Cradle of Filth use it a lot, but I actually do kind of like some of Cradle of Filth stuff.
You could just say it's black metal synth if you want.
It's like that shitty tinny synth that I don't like. If it's like badly produced, if it's like 9 Inch Nails doing proper analog synth and it's been mixed really well and it sits perfectly in the mix, this is like that. This has got that good synth in it too.
Yeah, I think it's like analog synth is the kind of stuff you tend to like.
I love analog synth.
Analog synth VST. I noticed that's just.
I like thick synth.
Yeah, the synth wave.
My synth has to be taking a lot of trembolone for me to like it.
I think what this band does well, and it's kind of evident in the first track, which I think is very kind of emblematic of how the whole album kind of sounds. I feel like every component is prevalent in all the tracks, but especially the first track. I think it's a very strong opener. Is I like the way, and I think this is probably down to the production as well. I like the way how, I think when you've got a very synth-heavy band or album, you've got to make sure that it's very well balanced and well mixed with the other instruments. Because I feel like if you have it too weak, then it might as well not fucking be there. Have it too overpowering, then it's overshadowing the guitar. And I think what this band does is do a great job of, one, composing the music, so the way the synth isn't overbearing, but also the way it's been produced is done in a way where it just sounds kind of tasteful. Yeah. And everything's well balanced, and it sounds good, and it sounds organic. Whereas, like, you know, sometimes if you listen to, I know we were shitting on them a bit earlier, and I love the band, but Septic Flesh, like sometimes their synth, and I think this is part of their appeal, to be honest, to me, is so fucking over the top and like an overly orchestral. As much as I fucking love it, I know why it like completely turns people off.
It's like a teenage goth discovering crushed velvet for the first time. It's just everywhere and a bit too much. I do like Septic Flesh, and I enjoyed the synth when I started listening to them, but now like that the quality of it isn't quite. It's not like the 2023 synth that I expect, which is what I'm getting here.
Are you guys talking more like Ophidian Wheel and stuff like that? Because the most recent stuff is all the...
I'm not talking about recent Septic Flesh. No, this is like 2006 Septic Flesh.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's not synth though. They're just using using like a Yamaha keyboard and being like me. Yeah.
And I tell you what though, because I was talking about how, you know, it's sometimes disappointing when, like, you know, a lot of it's piped into a backing track. But I did watch that set live where they had the Czech Philharmonic Orchestra playing.
I bet it's
They had them play live with them once, and it sounded fucking unreal. Because I love their music so much, so I feel like you can only really do it justice by having like an actual orchestra there.
Totally, I agree. And it's interesting because this album does have like real instrumentation, so there is live strings. There's also additional orchestration, and there's violin and viola and cello. So there's a string quartet that's working in this album too, which is beautiful. I love viola. They get such a bad rep from other instrument players. Like they're kind of like the butt of a lot of string instrument jokes.
So why is that? So I'm uneducated on this. So what is it about viola?
I don't really. I used to play violin, so that was one of my first. That was my second instrument. And like in orchestra, the violas are sort of like viewed as like, I don't think it's just right, because I actually think the viola is a beautiful sounding instrument, because it's between a violin and a cello. It's like a really big violin, and it's got like a beautiful bassy earthy tone, but it's just given like the shit parts oftentimes, and there's just like loads of jokes about viola players being useless and it being a useless instrument, but I actually think it's like a very important instrument, and it really holds up. Like it's like the rhythm bassy aspect of the orchestra.
So would you say it's the classical equivalent of the bass player?
Yeah, kind of. Well, the double bass is.
It's the baritone. The violin's guitar. The viola is the baritone guitar.
I think you'll find you're being quite anachronistic there, my darling. But cellos are stunning instruments. It's one of my favourite instruments, cello and organ, because they're both such emotive and evocative instruments, and like the amount of sort of colour and emoting you can do with those instruments is beautiful, whereas viola doesn't really get given those parts a lot of the time, and the parts where the viola does shine, they're not like famous classical pieces of music. But I do think, honestly, check out viola stuff. It's sick. It's a really nice instrument, but you just don't, it's kind of dying out, I think.
I fuck with Apocalyptica.
I've never really listened to them, to be honest.
They're good.
They're really good.
Yeah. I fuck with Yo-Yo Ma. He's like the fucking best cellist.
Did they do their own music, or are they just covers? Like
they do their own.
They do their own too. Yeah.
Okay.
There's like I got Shem into an amazing Apocalyptica song, which has got the guy from the Rasmus and also Villa Velo from him.
Oh shit!
I think it's one of my favorite Apocalyptica tracks. It's so fucking good, and the music video is amazing. Like we should get you to react to it later, man. Like
I prefer the one with the female, the singer from
No
Apes, I think it is.
I don't know that
Oh,
one.
Guano Apes rings a bell, yeah.
Yeah, they've got a song with her, and it's fucking awesome.
Yeah, the Apocalyptica are legit. I saw them play in like 2006 at Sonosphere, and it was sick. They're legit.
Yeah, I've seen a few live clips, and it was really impressive.
They're really, really good. Yeah.
Speaking of Vil, he's on Hellfest, isn't he? Performing at Hellfest, doing solo stuff.
What?
I saw his name on the lineup somewhere.
What?
Sorry, is he not?
If he is, fucking hell, I'm excited.
I'm not sure. I might have just got your hopes up there, but I'm sure I saw.
I love his voice.
He's doing some touring thing at the moment, which
Is that like us getting your hopes down when we told you Incineration was
yeah.
Well, I didn't realise Incineration Festival was
this
today.
This isn't going to go live on the same day, but the day we're filming this, it's fucking Incineration Festival. I had the 29th of May in my head. And it's the 13th of May, and I'm fucking devastated. Yeah, but it was sold out anyway.
It was like, I've got to get my Incineration Festival tickets. We're like, mate, that's
better
today.
hurry up. Yeah. Unbelievable.
You could, if he's playing, I'm going to be so excited.
Yeah, I think I was chatting shit, you know.
I don't think he is, because I feel like I know.
Yeah, I feel
like he's on cycle though, because he's done a solo record, hasn't he?
I've
seen him on a few. I think I've just seen his name on a few lineups on Twitter. And just maybe implanted it in my head that he's playing Hellfest as well.
I don't keep a close eye on his stuff, to be honest, anymore. But I have warm, fuzzy feelings towards him from being a teenager and just fucking absolutely loving Wings of a Butterfly.
I've always thought him a very mid.
That's just because you're a straight white man, I guess. So
I can't. I don't think I've. I think I've only maybe listened to 2 hymn songs in my life. So.
Oh damn! I wasn't like a huge hymn fan when I was younger, but I really liked them. I thought that they were. I fancied him obviously as a teenager, and I had the picture in Kerrang that I posted on my wall.
What helped? Would it be fair to say that Bam Margera and Jackass lot helped a lot with their popularity?
Totally, they were mates.
Because he had like the hymn tattoo, right? And he was like
the heartgram. Yeah. There was a lot of they were really good at creating this like mystique around themselves, him. And like everyone was like, ooh, no one knows what it means, but it means his infernal majesty and things. It was like so lame, but kind of cool.
They kind of always flirting with the slightly satanic overtures, weren't they?
And he like lived in a tower in Helsinki.
Yeah. Same time as Akakoka though, man. They didn't stand a chance. Akakoka is so much cooler.
You obviously liked Akakoka more. Yeah.
Akakoka, like, they weren't trying to convince everyone they were having lots of sex.
Oh, but they didn't need to because they clearly were.
They clearly were.
They clearly were fucking like.
No.
They were the opposite of whatever an incel is.
And then they were riz to the gills.
A Duracell.
Charizon.
Chadson.
Have you ever heard the interview of them and Bruce Dickinson?
What?
And they're like,
they're taking the piss out of him.
Huge Iron Maiden fans, and then they just completely rinse Bruce Dickinson in this radio interview, and he gets so flustered. It's
really
fucking funny.
It's really funny.
It's really funny.
I need to watch that. My favourite Akakoka interview was always the one they done on the Christian Irish.
We don't want you here.
Yeah.
Akakoka are the best band. Shout out Akakoka.
They know we love them. Everyone knows.
I want to keep telling them.
I need to get like their Kerned logo tattooed on my forehead.
I'll tell you what. Speaking of buying tickets, I think anybody who's an Akakoka fan needs to get on that.
An Akakoka light.
Nice. The APA, Akakoka Protection Agency. But it's so they're playing Coronzon in full at the Night of Salvation, which is the Friday night.
I'm gonna fucking lose my shit.
And do you know what? I thought they would like the headline. Apparently, there's still a headline announcement to go for that Friday night.
What the fuck?
So it seems like Damnation is gearing towards being more of a 2-day.
Is it a double enslaved set?
So they've announced Below the Lights in full.
Below the Lights.
And then they're playing the first album, which I'm not going to attempt.
Maybe it's Electric Wizard doing Dope Throne.
No, they wouldn't do that on the Friday.
Well, but they've got Enslaved playing on the Friday and the Saturday. And they're headlining.
Well, maybe I'll do that.
So's Electric Wizard, and it's a UK exclusive.
I mean, if that's the case, Friday is going to be fucking packed out.
Friday's the day for me.
I think it's not listed yet as like a bundle.
You can buy it as I need to buy our tickets, so I'm really worried it's going to sell out.
Yeah, I need to get on that.
It's the best lineup for years, man.
It's very, very good.
Yeah. Oh, fucking hell, that
That's
poster.
in,
And the Psy and
The
Nafrak.
BEC Arena, I mean, I was talking about this when I'd done the review of it last year. It's so much better for them because, like, you've went from one extreme to the other. You went from, like, the winding holes of the Leeds Union, which is just a nightmare to navigate when it gets busier towards the end with the headliners are playing, to, like, a massive open space. Like, I watched, like, 90% of Despised Icon, ducked out the last song and managed to get barrier for At the Gates. Like, I would, if that was the Leeds Union, I wouldn't be able to have gotten to the main stage to see At the Gates.
I'm just so excited to see Akakoka play in the fucking Beck Arena, man.
Yeah, should be good. But that's Julie
Beck
Christmas
Arena.
as well.
Yeah, I can't believe that. That's going to be mad.
Undeath now playing as well.
I wonder if Julie Christmas is there, probably Cult of Luna is going to be there too.
Oh, maybe. That's a shout.
Maybe that. Not necessarily, but if I was Gav, I would book Cult of Luna.
The thing is, they've already...
They've already done that.
Yeah, 2016, they did the Mariner set.
That was a while ago, though. It's like, what?
Yeah, to be fair, I mean, they could do it again. I mean, it's been long enough. Yeah.
8 years.
I've done my time. 8 years.
8 years ago.
Right, should we get back to our fires?
I was actually talking about violas before we started talking about this, and I just wanted to say that there's some beautiful string work on this album. I want to shout out to those musicians who I'm gonna mispronounce this name. I think it's Simri or Kimri, Hugh Kill, and Julie Beistlein, and Julie Jacobson, and Lisa Williams. So they all did the strings, and there's string production by Randy Slaw, which is a wonderful name.
Nice.
Aren't they good enough to be on...
Yeah, they're signed. Yeah, they're on Metal Archives, signed to Prosthetic Records.
Didn't you just say a bunch of women's names?
No, they were the string. Like
the string players.
they were the string. They're not like core band members to my knowledge. Yeah.
That looks a bit like a what's his name kind of logo. Yeah,
Spatula logo. It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It probably is. It's very much his style.
But yeah, I'm really impressed with this album. I'm going to go back and listen to the first one as well, which dropped in 2020. There's so many bands that dropped albums in 2020 that I just didn't really notice because there's just so much. Yeah, because barely anybody did it. apart from like burgeoning bands first getting onto the scene, or bands that had been sitting on music for so long. They're like, fuck it, we're gonna have to release it at some point.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really like it. I just want to give a quick shout out to the last track on the album, which is Idiopathic Despair. And that was a great track, and I think it was a little bit different from the rest of the album. It was a bit bouncier, a bit more groovier, and normally, and I'll talk about this when we review the Cattle Decap album, because the last album was the really long, moody track. I like the way this band kind of switched it up, and you had a lot of the kind of like atmospheric, kind of like really crushing ambience, death doom on the first few tracks, and then the last track was the one that was actually a bit more like kind of bouncier, fast-paced. And yeah, just had a good vibe all the way through. Like, it's just... I can't recommend this band enough.
I really liked the first track. I really liked how... I love it when a song starts with like a sample of like fire crackling and rain falling. That was like A+ ASMR moment before like getting all heavy and building up the atmosphere. I love that. I feel like this and the Cattle Decap album are both very much like rooted in nature, which I really appreciate. I prefer that to like, let's talk about killing other people, whoa, torturing someone in the woods. Like, this is just very much like you will crumble into dust and the insects will feast upon your body as you decompose, which I really appreciate. Yeah,
it's great vocals as well. Like, I think really, I think when you've got music like this, it's a very common vocal style for like this kind of melodic death doom subgenre, but like it just works so well. It's kind of like growled, a bit more subdued, like not overly characteristic, or just like really well placed, really well phrased vocals. Really reminds me of a band. I think I was discussing this yesterday. There's a band called Vehemence that were big in the had it dropped a couple of absolutely killer melodic death metal albums in the early 2000s. Some problematic song titles on some of the albums, but one of the albums is a bit incelly, but like the music was amazing.
That's cool.
And I think they're from very much of that era where like, where death metal could kind of get away with calling, well, maybe not get away with it, but like
good old days.
There was less. That's the wrong Vehemence, by the way. Oh, is it? And another one. They're from Phoenix, Arizona.
I thought you meant Vehement, who are our mates down in Brighton.
Yeah.
But this is Vehemence, like mince.
I'm just going to clear myself before I get cancelled. So, not suggesting that it was good that bands got away with it. I'm saying there was less of a spotlight.
You are thus uncancelled.
Yeah. Thank you.
This guy's wearing a shirt that says "Grind the Blind."
Nice.
That's wonderful.
That's Nathan, the vocalist, I think. I had their albums on CD.
Good shot, gang member dies.
That's a very old logo. I like it.
You had the right one there. That's the one. That's the one.
Guys.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, he used to have hair, because I remember watching the music video.
They've got an album called "The Thoughts from Which I Hide."
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful.
There's some good slams in that album. This is more of like a straightforward death metal album. It's like some proper slams.
Is that an upside down lady?
Yeah, I think so.
That looks ridiculous. Why do her knees look like a bum?
I love this because it looks like a PS1 video game cover.
Like, her
it does
tits
actually.
are just
Yeah, it really
completely out, but she's wearing a sweetheart neckline that doesn't make any sense. She looks like Britney Spears. But that's not what corsets look like. That's not what an underbust is supposed to look like. That's a very badly fitted corset. 0 out of 10 to their tailor.
You'd love track number 3.
What's it called?
I don't want to say it.
No,
let me read it
I
with
know
my
the track.
eyes. Oh my god. Yep, we can't say that on air. Yeah, as you were saying, back then you couldn't get cancelled.
I love the artwork for this album as well.
Yeah, it's a lovely
Fires
oil
in the
painting.
Distance.
Does it say who? It's digital.
Yeah, you can tell.
Okay, from over here it looks like an oil painting.
Nicely done though.
It's beautiful. It's
But
very
great
nice.
effort.
Lovely colours.
A band I will keep my eye on in the coming years.
It's like a mixture of like Russian and German romantic era portraiture.
Yeah. At first I thought it was maybe more of a black metal thing. I don't know why I just had that kind of aesthetic. But then with like the woodlands and stuff. But yeah, pleasantly surprised that it's more of like the Insomnium and Mors Principium Est style of melodic death metal.
I thought it was Principium.
Yeah, I've probably fucked it up.
Fair enough. Should we move on to another fucked up but beautiful album?
Yes.
Terrasite Butt Cattle Butt?
Terrasite Butt. A Bug's Life.
A Butt's Life.
A Bug's Life. A Bug's Life.
Terrasite by Cattle Decapitation.
Yeah, so I think they've kind of embraced the Bugs Life memes. I think I saw somewhere that they had like a bit of merch somewhere that was like kind of embracing it.
I love the Bug's Life. I thought it was better than Ants.
Did you? I think I prefer Ants.
I like both a lot. They were both like really big films for me. They're both actually no. Ants is better in terms of its message and politics, but I love the like how A Bug's Life looked. And that guy was a dick, the American general fucking locust dude. He was so evil. Yeah, I used to have like a Bug's Life toy. Oh my god, not like that though. That's like Mr.
Christ.
Blobby. It was like if Mr. Blobby had children.
Dot Ant, 1998 plush.
I don't want anything.
Should I buy it?
No, it literally has like a weird fucking camel toe thing going on. It's making me uncomfortable. What the fuck?
Oh, no.
No!
No fucking way.
No!
So,
The fact that it's blushing.
just to give context to anybody that's not... We're currently looking at an image of the... Can't remember the caterpillar's name from A Bug's Life, but it's a caterpillar fleshlight.
I don't want to know what its name was because it makes it worse.
That's a niche product if ever I saw one.
The way it's like lifelessly looking out and blushing.
It's so small.
I didn't realise how small it is.
Christ.
Why?
That's
It's
amazing.
horrific. Oh,
That can't be licensed.
that's not been trademarked, has it?
yeah.
Is it CE certified? That's horrific.
So I think the reason... Should explain, give a bit of context to why we're talking about A Bug's Life.
Yes.
The album cover for this album, Terrasite,
Has a bug.
features a locust emergent from his kind of husky... What would you call it? His...
Yeah, there's a word and I wrote it down. It's ufuka.
There you go.
I think it's Yeah, ufuka. No, cloaca is a totally different part of the world.
And the artwork is it's actually got quite poignant reason
Yeah.
behind it. So it is a tribute to Gabe Serbian from the Locust, who died. It's called a semi-recently, who was a former member of Cattle Decapitation during the earlier grindcore eras, so during the
Until
human
2000?
jerky. Huh?
I think it was until 2000.
Was it until that late? It was. I know he wasn't
1996 to
on.
2000,
I'm pretty sure he
I
wasn't
think.
on their first full length album with Metal Blade, which was To Serve Man. I know he was definitely on Human Jerky and Homivore, which were like their EPs / albums, which were much more kind of like grindcore, kind of like death grind orientated before they kind of. And you know the interesting thing, I really like Cattle Decapitation's journey as a band. In many ways, it's kind of reminiscent of bands like Opeth and other bands that have had real radical like stylistic changes.
Sorry. I didn't realise he has a tattoo on his neck that says casual. That's so cool.
That's pretty sick. It's like The Undertaker had a tattoo that had his wife's name and he had to get it lasered off. Why? I don't know why I keep bringing up wrestling.
Why did he have it lasered off?
Because
Did they
he
break up?
divorced with his wife.
Oh, that's so sad.
And he said that the removal process was far more painful than...
Do you know why?
Why?
Because basically the removal process, they get a laser and it boils the ink underneath your
Jesus.
skin so that it like explodes out of your skin cells, and then your body has to process it in urea, and then you excrete out the ink.
Shit.
It's really painful.
That's brutal.
Yeah.
Someone should write an album about that.
It probably has already happened.
That's brutal with 2 O's.
Brutal.
2 zeros, I should say. Sorry. But yeah, I'll tell you another band that Cattle Decapitation kind of remind me of, and they've had like a similar time they've been active in a similar trajectory, is Aborted.
Oh, that's interesting.
They've kind of had a similar thing. Started off more kind of like grindy, and then kind of like evolved into like kind of like a carcass worshipy kind of sound, especially with like very like inspired by the early vocals of Jeff and Bill. And then they both kind of found their own niche within like the death grind genre. Like I think Aborted, it took them a while to kind of hit the ground running. And they both kind of dabbled in deathcore for an album as well, weirdly enough. They each had their kind of deathcore albums where they were experimenting, kind of going with what was cool in the scene at the time, around about bands like Suicide Silence and stuff were prominent. And then they kind of went back into realizing what worked for them. And I think what really works for Cattle Decapitation now is they've got a really interesting style. And this album is very reminiscent of their new sound, which is like... It's just really dynamic. There's like even hints of black metal in a lot of the riffing, like very atmospheric, like a lot of tremolo riffing in like the higher register. I think Travis Ryan is a vocalist. If you don't mind, I'm just going to wax lyrical about Travis Ryan as a
I
vocalist.
know how
for a
much you
bit.
love this band.
He is, in my opinion, one of the best vocalists. And I really, one thing he started doing a few albums back, I think the first track he ever did it with was on the Harvest Floor, was what's called the Goblin vocal technique, which is kind of like this weird in-key, kind of like shrill, like half harsh, half clean vocal technique that he does.
I think he's doing it in that picture there.
So what in this picture, what he's doing is that's the air displacement trick that you use for tunnel
Well, you put your thumb in your mouth.
vocals. No, that's his tongue.
That's
He's
his
sticking
Why
his
is
tongue out the side of his mouth.
Colour as his fingers. What the fuck?
He's white.
What? You don't have a white tongue if you're white.
So what that is, that's what a lot of deathcore vocalists do. So that creates air displacement, which creates the tunneling effect. Which he...
Sorry, I just tried to do that. I was like...
Review is just goblin mode.
I'm always in goblin mode.
Like Will Ramos from Lorna Shore.
Whoa, that looks so crazy. I didn't know they did that.
That's a sick set as well. It's from...
It's really good.
His tongue must be so fucking strong.
Is the drummer still Dave?
Dave McGraw.
Is he still the same guy?
Yeah.
So good.
Beast.
That's mad. They're playing Hellfest, right?
Are they?
Oh, fuck, we're doing it again.
Oh,
Look at when you feel so... I feel like
Just to clarify, Vilvallo and Cattle Decapitation are not booked onto Hellfest this year.
The amount of false information we give out on this podcast.
You know?
Fake news.
Fake news podcast. They played in 2015.
So he's kind of a king of that kind of tunnel throat technique that a lot of deathcore
Just
vocalists...
like
yeah.
yeah.
I didn't mean to get that up.
But the Goblin vocals, that's a different thing he does. So
Okay.
you hear it a lot on the Death Atlas album, the album prior to this one, and he uses it to great effect on this album as well.
There are moments where he just sounds like Benji from Skindred to me.
Yeah, he does sound a bit like Benji. Yeah, you mentioned that before. Then it's kind of like, when you mention something, then you can never unhear it.
Yeah, he
It's a bit
sounds...
like
seriously, when he does like the like clean, distorted cleans, he sounds like Benji from Skindred.
Yeah, I can hear
He's
that.
the same placement. Oh my goodness, that's a
Not
different
the same,
guy.
not the same one.
That must be quite annoying.
He doesn't do them as much, but on the earlier albums, he was really, really good and inventive with his guttural vocal techniques.
That's
He
interesting.
did a lot of toilet bowl styles because he was
I
heavily
love a good
inspired
toilet bowl.
by Joe from Broken Hope.
Oh yeah.
And the Broken Hope album, Swamped in Gore, that was one of the first times you ever heard that ultra guttural style. Like a lot of people kind of give it to Chris Barnes on the Tomb of the Mutilated album as being one of the first albums to feature that super, super low style. Obviously, Andy Bowman is another guy that gets credited a lot for the super guttural vocal
He should
style.
get the credit.
But Joe from Broken Hope is a serious like player in like the
Amazing.
in the death metal vocal scene, and I know Travis was heavily inspired by him. Funny enough, on all their albums previously, there always used to be a little disclaimer in the booklet, which said that there was no vocal effects used on the album.
Nice.
And the only other time I ever saw that was with there's a Spanish death metal band called Avulst.
Yeah.
And their vocalist Dave Rotten used to have the same thing.
Dave Rotten.
And funny enough, he sounds quite similar to Travis Lyon as well, because what's good about their gutturals is they're still quite good at enunciating their words when they're doing the gutturals. And he's just got such a good range. Like, he does a great like bellow as well, similar to Glenn Benton of Dayside. So I just think he's just a very, very versatile and well-rounded extreme vocalist.
Do you want to know a fun fact about Travis Ryan?
Go on.
He's been in many bands, and he's currently in a band called Anal Flatulence. And in the 90s, he was also in a band called Anal... No, wait, I'm getting the wrong way around. He's currently in a band called Anal Trump. And he used to be in a band called Anal Flatulence in the 90s.
I seem to remember him talking about anal flatulence once before. I think it was just a complete joke. It was just like a...
Well, he brought the joke back because he went from flatulence to Trump.
Oh, nice. Anal.
So
I get it.
It's like
Okay.
a reunion or something. But yeah, I found that quite amusing that he really likes anal when it comes to naming its bands. Anyway.
Oh, the worst. Do you ever remember Anal Blast?
There's a lot of anal out there. I used to think it was anal Nafrak, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, same. That's why when you try and search them, it still doesn't come up, because I think the autofill
It comes up with something else, yeah. You don't, yeah.
But Anal Blast had Don Decker as their vocalist. He's the infamous vocalist who used to use tampons on stage.
Well, eat them.
Yeah.
Can you eat tampons?
I don't know. He did. He'd ask people to throw them on stage and used to eat them. And then, like, whether it's an urban legend or not, I don't know. But I've read reviews of people who said they witnessed women throwing the tampons on
But
stage.
it would, like, explode in your throat and you'd choke. Because have you seen how much they expand?
I mean, look at this guy.
Yeah.
I mean, he looks like he enjoys eating
And
tampons.
Joey Jordison was in Anal Blast for a little bit as well.
Wow.
I believe he played drums for a bit.
Damn.
And they kind of, some of their albums parodied the Cradle of Filth font, which is why it says Anal of Blast instead of Cradle of Filth at some point.
Oh, my God.
But yeah. Kind of
Okay.
back in the era of like sketchy and odd gore grind.
Yeah.
Sorry, just you mentioned
Oh,
that.
is he dead?
Yeah, he died. Yeah.
I'm really... Was it because he ate a tampon?
Did he choke?
Liver failure, I seem to remember.
Probably
It's
because he
cirrhosis
ate
of the liver.
so many tampons.
Maybe.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
What
Yeah.
the... Oh my god.
Oh, wow.
No.
Anyway, moving on.
We're not going to say that either.
Right.
Okay, this guy's dead, so he
let's
doesn't need
get
to be
back to-
cancelled. Fucking hell.
So I'll give a bit of context about the album. So Cattle Decapitation, long-running band from San Diego, California, signed to Metal Blade Records for pretty much since their first main full length. I think they've always... What I like about them as well, they've always used the same guy to do their art, which is Wes Ben Scota. So he's done their artwork for pretty much their entire discography. Dave Otero has been doing their production since Monolith of Inhumanity.
Amazing.
And yeah, even the lineup's like somewhat like consistent. So like Travis Ryan been the vocalist for a long time. Josh Elmore's been on guitars pretty much since the last couple of decades. Dave McGraw, the current drummer, has been with them a while, an absolute beast of a drummer. You've got Oliver Pinard on bass, and then the newest member, Belisario Demuzio, on rhythm guitar. And I have went on record numerous times to say how much of a fan I was of their previous album, Death Atlas. Always been a huge Cattle Decap fan, and I was really impressed with that album. And I think this album is definitely another worthy addition to their discography. Very much in the same vein of Death Atlas. Like, there's a good balance of like really heavy, spindly kind of like death grinds and death metal with like same thing as what we were saying about the Fires in the Distance album. Like, there's a lot of like staccato riffing, like great, really locked in like double blasts with the bass. And but then there's also some really cool atmospheric moments with the clean vocals and just the more emotive kind of black metal tinged passages. So yeah, and one thing I like that they've done on this album as well, which they did with Death Atlas, was the last track was like a 10-minute plus kind of like opus, and I felt like it was kind of like an homage to maybe Gabe from The Locust, who sadly passed away. And it was just a real kind of like the band just kind of running the full gamut and just putting everything on show for a great final track.
This was my favourite thing that I've listened to them so far.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I've not listened to like a huge amount of their back catalogue, but I remember we reviewed Death Atlas, I believe. I think. No, we didn't. I
don't think the podcast existed when Death Atlas came out.
Oh, no, you know what? You recommended it to me, and I listened to it, and I was like, huh. And in my mind, I reviewed it. Yeah. So, in the non-existent platonic edition of the Serpent Temple podcast that only exists in that realm, it does, to an extent, not and exist. Anyway, yeah, I thought it was a really good album, and I really enjoyed the fact that they're like, they tend not to be eco-fascist, Cattle Decap, but they do also just like really tackle the fact that we're kind of fucked head on. And I like how they did it with this is like, so Terrasite, according to them, is a fusion of the words terra, earth, which is Latin, and cetos, which is food in Greek. And you very rarely do get fusions of Latin and Greek when it comes to etymology. So like one of the rare examples of that is television, because tele means distance in Greek, and vision is from, like, yeah, this is probably really boring for most people, but I think that's fascinating that you very rarely do. Like most classicists like frown on the fusion of Greek and Latin when it comes to words. Yeah.
No, that's genuinely interesting.
so I only just realized that like now. But yeah, so according to the band, the word has two definitions: a devourer or destroyer of land or earth, or the post-Anthropocene humanity. I can't believe I said that right. But yeah, so like the album is like, it's not actually about humans now. It's kind of like a future, like how humans are evolving into this like horrific, parasitic, insect-like creature. And I really love how at the beginning, the first word, stop fucking putting the fleshlight up in front of me, Shem. The first words of the album.
That's a picture of a fleshlight, not an actual one, just to clarify.
Serpent Temple fleshlight. It would be horrific. Anyway, I need to stop developing that as a product in my mind. So yeah, the first line of the album is a Jurassic Park reference.
No way.
It's Life Finds a Way.
Oh, shit.
That's the first line of the album.
That's amazing.
Life finds a way. The fauna from the trauma, culled from the pages of this human drama, are petrified tombs, now crumbling ufukas, from which a new species of human arises. So he's like setting the scene for this story of like this new breed of humanity that comes and just... Like he literally calls it, is this not a cesspool, our toilet earth that we've crafted for our progenies? That's crazy. Like in this landfill where we lay down our births, a future rife with variants of disease. I guess that's obviously about COVID. Yeah. But it's really interesting. Like, you know, he's saying this is like, these are throughout. So the first verse was from the first song. The second was from the second, called "We Eat Our Young." And it's like there's this amazing existential moment where he's like, who even are we? What is our end game? What is with this army that survived from the end game? It sounds like a rap. The fleshy architect, bold in design but fucking out of its mind with self-indulgence and a self-worship, birthing in stifling numbers as the planet worsens. So it's like a really interesting sort of commentary on the future of us as a race and like what are we doing, why are we doing this, which I really enjoy because like they're kind of they're kind of doing our Zoom recorder's nearly out of battery, so we've got to wrap it up soon. Sheb's trying to like casually
trying to fucking give us a seizure in the process.
He's like opened Microsoft Word and has made it like the biggest font possible. He's like, wrap it up.
Flashing. Oh, we've got to end it here because I've got to lie down.
we need to call an ambulance. Floyd's having a stroke. Yeah, it was really good. I really liked it. I really like the Insignificance. Really cool, really great stuff.
That's a great song.
Shout out Anal Flatulence. And thank you so much for watching. Like, please like and subscribe. You're more than welcome to send us an email and say random things to us and we'll give you advice. Anything you want. Peace and love. Serpent Temple.
And we're out.